make a girl a promise. If you know you can't keep it. They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that? Choose whichever Spartan I wanted. You know me. I did my research, watched as you became the soldier we needed you to be. Like the others, you were strong and swift and brave. A natural leader. But you had something they didn't. Something no one saw but me. Can you guess? Luck.
We did it. We've gone live. Welcome, everybody, to the Xbox Series podcast, where we're going to talk extensively and exclusively about Rise, Son of Rome. Headley, how are you doing this week? And do you like Rise, Son of Rome?
Mate, you have put me on the spot because I have not played Rise Son of Rome. That is
Whoa.
I really need to sort that out. That's wow. Great start, everybody. Great start. No, I can't really tell you much about Rise Son of Rome, but you know what game I can tell you about. We'll get into that in a minute. Do you want me to get into that now?
The problem is we are talking exclusively, extensively about Rise, Son of Rome, so I can't think of anything else that could be on the agenda. No, of course we're not.
Gamzly,
Of course
have you
we're not.
played
Go
Rise
on
Son of
then.
Rome?
Oh, are we talking about Brotato already? Okay, you know what? Deadly, go ahead. 1 second, I'll be right back.
Oh, you dick. What have you
Go ahead,
done?
Deadly.
Oh no!
Don't do that.
All right.
Sorry,
Bear
everybody.
with us.
This was
Gamzly's just turn the camera off.
I was not prepared. I have a two-person overlay, but that was an unexpected switch. Let me think. Let's go
I
here for a minute.
actually dropped.
Oh, now he comes back.
I'm sorry.
And now we go back to here. So that's it. I
actually
win the
dropped, I'm sorry.
Brotato conversation.
It's not
He
intended.
ran away from it. Where were we? Headley.
You can.
In fact, let's do our normal intros first of all. We're going to find out how you are this week before we get into what you've been playing and what you do and don't like about it. So, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very, very good. Thank you, mate. I'm very, very good. How are you?
Love to hear it. Oh, I'm fantastic. As long as Gamzly keeps his shit together. Gamzly, besides whatever happened just then, how are you doing this week?
I'm so good. I'm so good. I tripped over my camera, apparently. Very good. I'm excited to talk about games and things like Brotato.
How does one
Whenever
trip
you
over a
are.
camera while sitting in a chair?
Well, I rotated it, and my my stuff is very close to my legs, and I unplugged my camera. I'm sorry.
Gave it the old taekwondo and just kicked it across the room. I understand. I know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. Let's do the
Let's get
difficult
into
bit.
it.
Headley, what have you been playing this week?
I have been playing Baldur's Gate 3 and
Yes.
Brotato. which is fantastic, and I love it. And I couldn't put it down today. And I was supposed to, by the way. I had stuff planned, and I didn't do it because I played Brotato, and then I had a nap, and then I woke up, and now I'm here. So that's how my day's been. How about you, Gamzly? What have you been playing?
Sorry, what?
What is that?
Well, audio listeners, if you're listening intently, I have why we're laughing is because I have a little trophy here. This is a trophy, and this over here, I'm pointing at a potato with googly eyes. I have won. I am claiming my victory, Asa. I did it. Victory is mine.
You know what? I humbly accept my first ever defeat. I know. Yeah.
It's really good.
I'm loving it.
It's really good, man.
Right, you keep your glowing face there for a minute.
Camera. Could you show us those properly, Gamzly? Could you bring them up to the camera without kicking it over again for the second time on a live show? That's beautiful. That is perfect. Spotify listeners, I think you do actually get the video as an option on your feed, so make sure you check that out. Anybody on Apple, you're going to have to jump on YouTube and check this out. That's so good. Well done, man.
Right. Let's
I've been waiting
post-match commentary though. Deadly Headley, what's so good about Brotato?
I think it's a very simple game to pick up and play. I think if you've obviously played Vampire Survivors or anything similar to that, it kind of does what it says on the tin. I acknowledge
on the tin it says Brotato.
In terms of the type of game that it is. Ace is very salty, by the way. He's not happy about this. He wanted to win.
It's okay.
No, I think it's very simple, but I do actually quite like the art style. It's just it's got a nice, fun, not serious kind of vibe to it. Rounds happen fairly quick as well, so it doesn't really feel like it's taking up a huge amount of your time, but spoiler alert, it does. And I think the overall sort of sense of humor and tone of the game is quite charming. I acknowledge the criticism that you had about the map being quite small, but I don't actually mind that much. I seem to have hit a bit of a ceiling with it. I can't seem to push past wave 15 at the moment, but yeah, I'm having fun experimenting with a few different sort of weapon builds and things like that. I really like the way that I like how forgiving the store is. Not as in terms of like, because I don't think there is a monetization element to it at all. Mm-hmm. Any upgrades and things that you purchase as you're playing through, I like that you have quite a lot of agency over that. So things like if there's a specific weapon that you maybe want but you're not 100% on it, you can sort of lock it in place and then it will still be there the following round. Rerolls are very cheap as well, so it does get to the point where, say sort of wave 8 onwards and you've got a bit of money behind you, you can afford to sort of keep searching for more gear and kind of just dial your build in a little bit. I'm still learning a lot about the game, but I'm having a really good time with it. I really do enjoy it. So yeah, definitely a W for Gamzly on this one. I think it's great.
That's what I like to hear.
You know more about the game than I do, because I didn't know half of that stuff that you just said, but I'm still better at it than you because I have finished it.
Shots fired.
I don't think you finished it. You're calling your bluff right now.
I haven't finished it. I finished the first basic easy mode difficulty. I've done the wave 20ing and I hate this game. But that's still, Gamzly, have you got anything to add about why you think Brotato? Why am I wrong? How does it work?
No,
what's the hook?
Asa, it's like beating a dead horse at this point. You know what I mean?
No, because that's more fun. The horse is more likely to do something.
It's so good. No, I'm not going to do this to you, Asa. I like you too much. I got nothing left on Brotato. It is what it is. It's on Game Pass. Go play it, guys. Go play it right now. It's amazing.
Well, then let's pull this show back to topic. Gamzly,
Yes.
tell me about Rise Son of Rome. Have you played it? Do you like it?
So good. Yo, okay. Are we actually talking about Rise Son of Rome?
Why?
Alright.
Just a tiny bit.
What? The best 900p game of all time? You're welcome. Yeah. And also, probably the best QuickTime game of all time as well. Since you do nothing but QuickTime in that game. Good story. Great story. If I remember correctly, I wanted a sequel. Like I was ready for another one. But that's all I remember about this fucking game. I'm sorry. Next.
That's right. For those that are wondering or are leaving as quickly as you can, we're not doing an extensive Rise Son of Rome podcast today. Maybe one day. There's things you can talk about on that game. I don't know where that came from. I just pulled it out my ass when we started because I didn't want to talk about potato. But there we go. It's happened. We can all put it behind us and move on to some of the topics today. And there's a big obvious one that's been hard to ignore this week, which comes from the shadow of the Erdtree. Elden Ring's downloadable content. We have the fortuitous situation of having not been doing this for very long, so we've never got together and had a talk about Elden Ring to begin with. Deadly Headley, are you a Souls fan and are you an Elden Ring fan?
Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Deadly.
Thank you for that. I am very, very new to the Souls genre. The first one that I really dabbled with was Remnant 2 when that came in to Game Pass a couple months ago, and I actually quite liked it. I want to go and check out Lies of P, but no, I haven't taken the plunge and gone into Elden Ring. I think it's one of those things where. And I do really advocate for things like Game Pass to help encourage players to find new genres. The Souls-like was never really a genre that I can't say it didn't appeal to me. It's just not really something that I ever sort of dabbled with on purpose. So what I really appreciated about something like Remnant 2 coming to Game Pass, and again, been meaning to check out Lies of P for the same reason, is to sort of jump in and start enjoying that. So no, I have not played Elden Ring, but I have heard fantastic things about Elden Ring. I need to get my shit together, don't
Deadly.
I?
You can't not hear fantastic things about Elden Rings, but tell me, Elden Rings, what has kept you away from it in the first place? Because obviously it had massive FOMO around it when it came out. There was massive social media buzz, and everybody would have been telling you have to play this game. You're scared?
No. I think it was more not necessarily wanting to take the 70 quid plunge on a game that I didn't know if I was going to like or not. So I remember thinking to myself, because I haven't dabbled in the Souls-like genre, I would rather give myself that opportunity on whatever comes to Game Pass. And if I like the genre, then yes, I'll stick it on the backlog. Elden Ring's DLC coming out sort of opens up hopefully the opportunity to get it at a decent price with the DLC included as well. So yeah, it's going to be on my to buy in 2024 list for sure.
Well, that's something we can all look forward to. I think it is not as hostile as you might understand it to be from the outside. And even if you struggle with other Souls-like games, it's not actually that abrasive. But
I actually don't mind difficulty in games either, to be fair. Like Remnant 2 got quite spicy, but I enjoyed it sort of dialing that up. Like, actually, when it got challenging and that sort of really stubborn part of me goes, nope, I will not accept defeat, quite enjoyed it. So, yeah, I think I will like it.
Gamzly, you're smiling a bunch. I know that you love this game already. Tell me why you love Elden Ring.
Well, believe it or not, okay, so this game actually made me a huge fan of the genre in the first place. My problem with all the other Souls games was that, you're limited to one path, one hallway, and once you get stuck, even on a boss or whatever, yeah, there might be other routes you can go, secrets, and grind the same enemies, but that's just it. Like, if you got stuck, you had to grind the same enemies over and over and over again just to get, like, if you were bad at the game or not very good at it or whatever, you could just grind your way out of it and beat it, right? That's what I love about Elden Ring, is that grind there, if you're not good at it, you can just wander off somewhere else, go to an easy set of enemies, and still discover things and weapons and all that stuff, and get better at it and get so powerful that the bosses are essentially nothing. Like you can overpower yourself for a set boss, and that's the kind of easy mode. And it made me a huge fan. Everything that I did discover felt meaningful and fun. Yeah, you do get some swords sometimes that you're like, oh my god, my build sucks for this. Sometimes you get a weapon like a wand, and you're like, oh man, my intellect sucks. I wasn't built for this. But it was still rewarding and fun, and gave you like that question in your mind, oh my god, should I switch my whole build for this? It's almost like old school Diablo feel, where you get you're like, oh my god, I got this thing, let me like reset and do a new character and go this way. And it's just it was wonderful in that way. It's a great game. It's a great game. There's nothing else to say about it. It's just
have you done multiple playthroughs already?
No, I have not. I beat it once.
When the DLC comes out, are you gonna pick up your previous character and play from there, or are you gonna start all over again, make something new?
I think I'm gonna start over, because that's the beauty of it. Like when I said Diablo, like that's what Diablo. Stop flaming me. Diablo. The fun of switching characters up and going for a different design, a different class, was really part of the fun in that game. And I feel the same enticement for this game. I feel, why not restart and try something different? And it's part of the fun. And I've forgotten so much about it already that I'm ready for it again. So
I haven't finished it because I suck. Not because I suck. I didn't get stuck on it or anything like that. But I was playing along through Elden Ring, and I got lost and distracted and decided to pause for a little bit while I waited for some updates on the old PC version. Then those updates came and went, and I just kind of forgot to go back to it. It's been my intention forever. But just looking at the trailer that was playing, I cannot get over like how good it looks, despite not looking technically incredible. The way that they managed to get their scene compositions together, in spite of it being an open world game. Because you can see that in a linear game where everything is placed and they know exactly where you're going to approach from and can set up all of this lighting and composition in exactly the way that they want. But this is open world, and it still manages to capture that so consistently and just look freaking awesome all around. So I actually like it a lot, despite being a fraud that hasn't quite finished it. So
what did you well, Brotato is just
I'm all right on that.
Anyways, off of Brotato, what did you run in Elden Ring? What was your set? What were you doing?
That's kind of where it went wrong for me, because I started off trying to build a strength faith kind of character, and then I found a weapon that I really liked that required dexterity. So I went off on a grinding spree, completely respec'd my character to be able to use this weapon, and for as long as I had that goal in front of me, I was having a good time. I always pressing forwards, getting towards my three-headed flail that I wanted to use. But when I got it, I carried on for a bit and went, well, I've not actually seen much evidence of armor that I want in this game. I never want to leave this weapon behind. So now I don't know where to go. I'm going to pause and come back to it. Yeah, literally, like, partly actually literally physically lost, because I was on the getting to the School of Mages or whatever. You have to find some key on a secret treasure island that I had no clue where it was.
That thing, I had to get told by my friend. No, my brother. My brother had to tell me where to go on that one too. I almost got stuck and dropped it for the same reason. Almost that one thing where you had to kind of go on the side, like there's a dragon, and behind the dragon, I think that's where the item is, and then you had to basically, the entrance is right on this random cliff, and you get in, and so it was so weird to me. But yeah, I remember that being a huge problem for me too, but I stuck it out, and I read a guide, Asa, the things that are online.
I don't do that because I'm not
search
a cheat
on your phone. Right?
That's just cheating. You've not even played Elden Ring. If you followed a guide, then, you know what I mean? No, I fully intended to go back to it. Part of this is I'm, as much as everyone else, a massive victim to FOMO and following the marketing beats and all of that. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a Dragon's Dogma 2 trailer. So I'm like, oh shit, I got to play Dragon's Dogma now. This is going to be incredible. I got to go and play the first one. Final Fantasy VII was another one. Like, oh, there's a new one. I got to go and play the previous one. And now we've got this Elden Ring trailer has dropped. And like, yeah, I got to pick up Elden Ring again. It's back in my mind for the next 5 minutes. So I've got it installed, ready to go. Might play it right after this, might not, but...
Oh,
yeah,
you gotta play it before, right? Like that's something you gotta play before Dogma.
Got until June.
It's gonna just take over.
Yeah. Well, there's already far too many
Dragon
games to
Dogma
play.
2, Headley, how do you are you interested in Dragon Dogma 2?
I haven't played the first one, but I am interested in it. Yeah, everything I've seen looks good. With the caveat of it running at 30 on consoles, which I'm kind of pissed about. But yeah, I'm still going to play it. It does look good.
Yeah, something about those Japanese style like open world fantasy games. They have a really unique art style. That engine is beautiful as well. Anyway, next.
1 second, I've got to tell Goat Status how amazing I am. Not how amazing, just I am amazing. There we go, done. Took a little while to type that through. Shut up. Yeah, why not?
That's going to be weird out of context for everyone catching up on demand.
Everyone catching up on demand. Goat Status has said in our chat that I'm going to go up against Malekith and quit, as if I'm going to struggle with a boss in Elden Ring. So I had to let everybody know, actually, I'm pretty freaking amazing at all of the games that I play, especially Brotato, but also all of the games that I play. Shut up, Gamzly.
I mean, he beat me, and I put more time into it than Asa did, so I'm going to give him that one.
No, Deadly, you don't understand. Listen, go watch the community stream and watch this man fucking run into every single goddamn wall in Forza, all right?
Nobody seek evidence through my live streams of whether I am actually amazing or not. We'll just take my word for it, and we'll move on from there. So, yeah, no, Dragon's Dogma 2... looks absolutely incredible to me as well, in the way that it obviously has some things in common with Elden Ring, in that it is taking what could have been a typical high fantasy setting and it's putting its own spin on it in the way that the Japanese tend to do, right? So it's not going to look like Skyrim, and it's not going to look like The Witcher. It's got a lot in common with those settings, but it's very much its own thing. And what's most kind of exciting about it for me is that everything seems to be totally dynamic, totally like emergent gameplay everywhere, all physics and system driven, all the things that you would complement Skyrim for, where you've got systems on systems on systems all layering up together. Dragon's Dogma 2 is, obviously the first game did a lot of it as well, but it's building on it and hopefully pushing things to a whole new level. It has been for a while. I'm not one for making predictions and things, but if I am trying to guess game of the year for this year, Dragon's Dogma has so much potential to steal that one, even if it is 30 frames per second. It just looks incredible.
Definitely. I'm with you on that. Definitely a top 5 for me already, which is crazy. And it's only, beginning of the year, but it just looks so hard to beat.
Assuming nothing goes like horrifically wrong when it actually comes out and it does actually work as intended.
Oh, no. Well, Helldivers 2 might beat it, but, who knows?
This is on a vendetta against that game. And
I totally am.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I've got nothing I can say on that. I've not played it all that much to have much of a comment. Nobody's played it all that much because the bloody thing doesn't work.
Yep.
Speaking of doesn't work, has anybody, I think the answer to this is going to be no, but we had a long-awaited, at least in some circles, very long-awaited beta release, beta of Final Fantasy XIV, a subscription-based MMORPG, landed on Xbox this week, with the advisory from Square Enix that if you already play Final Fantasy XIV on a different platform and you want to account cross-progress and all the rest of it, you should not touch the beta. So it's an open beta for people that generally haven't already invested and got involved in that game. But it begs the question, are you interested in Final Fantasy XIV in general, or what's your take on MMORPGs and consoles? Obviously Microsoft owning World of Warcraft now. How do you think those sit going forwards? Let's start with you, Headley.
So I'm not a Final Fantasy guy period, to be honest. So Final Fantasy 14 is kind of just also going straight over my head. But I am happy to see more MMOs coming to Xbox because I think that's important. And yeah, I think it's good news that another player base gets to go and enjoy that. I have seen quite a lot of like noise and hype around it, especially from those who are invested in Final Fantasy 14. So it's one of those things where I sort of hand on heart look at it and go, good for the communities that really love it. It's not my kind of thing, but yeah, it's good to see that Xbox is continuing to sort of expand its portfolio with types of experiences that it's offering, because I think that's something that it's clearly tried to make more of a conscious effort to do. And I think that really kind of speaks of what it's trying to do with the Japanese market and sort of getting more involved with more and more Japanese developers, because it really wants to expand its audience. So yeah, good for Xbox, good for Square Enix, good for Final Fantasy 14 and MMO fans. Have fun with it. That's me.
Absolutely. Gamzly, you are an MMO player. I know you've done some World of Warcraft. You've done some of the Elder Scrolls one, haven't you? A bunch of games. I know that's more your genre. Have you done Final Fantasy 14?
I have on PC. I have but sadly, I came in a little late, and this is like the first MMO that my brother and I and my buddies have not played together, which is strange because it's like one of the best ones. For a while after WoW, my brother and I really did try all the MMOs, Guild Wars, all that stuff. Um, Even the Star Wars one, I forgot its name, but that was quite good, but didn't really
SWTOR.
have the legs for us. Yeah. So I tried this one by myself, and honestly, probably it was such a weird thing for me because the story was dragging me in way more than the gameplay. So the gameplay was pretty awful by myself. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It reminds me of playing a priest in vanilla WoW with no one else around you.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so dreadfully slow. The animations are quite like the animations pop, it keeps you interested. But like there's nothing really solo about that game to me if you're playing any sort of class. There at one point you do reach a part where you get a ton of spells. I think that's like level 40. You have a ton of spells, and your job system, like the job system is quite unique because you could switch jobs on the fly. You could basically be whatever you want anytime you want. And it gets really in depth, but it didn't really hook me as a single person.
Mm-hmm.
But the story is fantastic. The story really did hold me for a long time. But yeah, I had a brief moment with it. Nothing crazy. And the meat of the content is in those raids and all that stuff that I didn't and dungeons that I didn't get to do because I was kind of done with the robotic kind of looking for group system. I don't like those in MMOs anymore. I wish it was just kind of old school and harder to find people. So you go search for them
Mm-hmm.
in the world, but yeah, you know my stance on that. I'm not really modern MMO guy, but yeah, Final Fantasy 14, go play it. If you have friends, you have like four people, go do that. It's fun. The classes are dynamic later game, and it's a good time. I'm glad we
It's
got it. I'm glad Xbox got it. I don't know how the heck console players are going to play that. I haven't played it on console. It's it's probably harder than WoW. It's probably harder than WoW if I had to guess. And yeah, no. Very complex, I
Where
think.
do
it's
you guys both land on subscription services or subscription games in general? Where do you both land there?
Uh
well. Go on,
Go
Gamzly.
ahead,
Where do you?
Adrian.
Obviously, you love them because you play World of Warcraft a bunch, but
Well, I the sub service is kind of ancient now, but it, WoW was okay for me because WoW at that time was pumping out incredible content at a rapid pace. They did charge the DLC. Every DLC was $49, but it was $49, not 69 or 89 or whatever. It seemed to be fair because the money that I was putting in, I kind of got a sense that it was given back to me. And as naive as that might seem, it just felt like that. So they must have been doing something properly. So I was a fan because it was alive and it was being pumped with a bunch of content continuously for years and still is. So yeah, in that context, give me more stuff that I want to play. I'm okay with it if that's what the subs lead to.
I think so. I actually never liked the subscription in World of Warcraft. I never felt they really did give enough content to justify a monthly payment. I kind of wanted to see almost monthly content so that it felt more transactional. Like I paid my $10, give me something back for it. Warcraft was actually relatively slow on that kind of thing in those days when it came out. Final Fantasy sits in a difficult place on Xbox for multiple reasons. Some of this applies cross-platform, but particularly because it's launching on Xbox right now. It's got that subscription, which you can look at it and you can weigh up whether it holds value or not. But you are going to be weighing it up against the likes of Game Pass because it's a similar price. So you're talking about content for one game for this amount of subscription versus like 500 whole games for a similar price. That is, for people that are not already invested in it, probably a fairly difficult pill to swallow, especially if you're not used to other subscription games and all the rest of it. It's also got, it's not really to its advantage that it's been out for 100 years already. Right, this game launched on the PlayStation 3. If you're trying to get into a game that has a strong story, but you're like a decade behind that story, I think that's fairly like a daunting starting point. The thing that it's got going for it is, go on.
Can I butt in?
Yeah.
They do lead you in, like there's good recap systems in that game. Like that game is really friendly. Well, does it pretty well. Like Destiny 2 does it terribly, right? On loading.
Mhm.
They're terrible at it. WoW is terrible at it, but like this game does it quite well. They do recap really well, and the content is very accessible. Because first off, you wanna start from zero most of the time. It just, yeah, I don't know why they do a good job at that, and the story progression is just in your face all the time. And I don't know. I think they do really well with this story stuff to recap players and get you up there. I agree, it's daunting, but every dungeon is doable even with PvE people. Like they fill the group with
NPCs,
like
yeah.
pawns basically. So it's really friendly in that way.
It is. And the things that it does, obviously it's got Moogles as well. I freaking hate Final Fantasy Moogles, so that's a massive turn off for me to push me away from the game. And all of its weird bunny characters and things like that, it leans into the weirder side of Final Fantasy a bit, but it also leans into some of its strengths with like incredible music and stories, apparently, if you get towards the end of it. Stupid bunny ears. Why have you got bunny ears? Get off.
What do you have against bunny ears, bro? What is wrong with you? Come on.
Well, it's just, you know,
What
it's
if
a
I
little bit
show
weird.
up with bunny ears next time? You know?
Like I say, looking for new
Just for you.
co-hosts. So
Oh, shit.
going for it though, like it does have a good free trial system. You can get into that game, and I can see if you've got people that engage with it with a group of friends, the biggest strength of any MMORPG is the fact that if you're playing it with a group of people, then it can be addictive as hell. So if this beta manages to get a little bit of attention and make a little bit of splash, if the launch manages to get some people to just try it with their friends, that's when they might fall into that subscription and get a lot out of the game. Debbie Headley, do you think it's going to find much of an audience on the Xbox platform? It's a difficult thing to guess because obviously you don't know even a fraction of the people that play Xbox games, but is it doomed to fail or can it find success there?
It's an interesting one. Maybe it finds a new audience in a generation that like a younger generation, but yeah, it's a tough one. I don't think it's gonna achieve any sort of like crazy viral renewed success. But you know, I guess it feels like it's more of a move to support that existing community that may want to play on another platform rather than it being designed to I think it's designed to introduce a new audience to it. I don't think it's necessarily going to create a large new audience, but it should create a small one at least. I mean, we again don't really follow Final Fantasy because it's not my kind of thing. There isn't much of a Final Fantasy presence on Xbox, really, is there? So if the IP holds weight, do you think that might do a little bit of the heavy lifting?
I don't, like you say, Final Fantasy has a strange history with Xbox. There was a little time where Phil Spencer pushed really hard, and you had pretty much the entirety of the series, not the older ones, but everything available on the console was on Game Pass, and that will have got some traction with some people. But it's pretty well established as not so much an Xbox franchise, I suppose. Gamzly, I'm gonna extend the question for you. So, same question: do you think Final Fantasy XIV has a hope of finding an audience on the Xbox? But also, by the same token, do you think the 4 games that Microsoft are pushing to other platforms are going to have similar difficulties? Are they going to find big audiences on the Switch and the PlayStation and all the rest of it? So, tackle them one at a time. Final Fantasy and then Xbox's games elsewhere.
Yeah, I think this is multi-layered. I think the more consistency we see with these things, the larger the audiences are gonna be taught. Like, the larger audiences are gonna come in. Like, they need to be taught that Final Fantasies are always gonna be a thing on the Xbox console before they actually get a hardcore player base going. Like, they need to be taught that, and Xbox needs to be very vicious on it. They have to go after it. And Square has to be open at this point, and we know we're speaking like third party stuff because listeners, if you don't know because you're under a rock, Xbox is putting some of their games, like Asa said, on PlayStation. Third parties want to be everywhere, and that's very apparent nowadays. And Square, if they want to grow themselves and not one platform that it's with, because it's the community, it's like the value of all their games all the time being on that platform that even gives PlayStation a huge boost. It's not about one game. It's about every single game is going to drop on a PlayStation. That's the selling point of a PlayStation to some people that like Square or whatever. So they need to release a steady pace of these games so that people don't look at the PlayStation being like, well, I'd rather have a PlayStation for Square Enix games because Xbox doesn't even get, I don't know, 18, but they'll get 19, you know? Like, that's not how you build a fan base. So if this is like the start of the partnership and things start to and the end when they have Final Fantasy VII Remake and 16, when they have that on the console and everything's rolling and it's synonymous with Square Enix again, I don't think it'll move the needle. So that was a long reach around way to say I don't think it'll move the needle a lot, but it's a good start, and I'm happy it's here, and go play that game and support it, because if you want multi-platform games on this ecosystem, go do it and play
I'm
it.
going to interrupt before you get onto those Xbox games. Just, you mentioned the start of the partnership with Square Enix, which is a good point, because they came out on stage when the new CEO took over at Square Enix and very quickly said, we're going to start expanding our partnership with Xbox, and we're going to be friends now. Final Fantasy XIV is the first kind of fruit of that. How does that relationship peak for you? What does Square Enix do that you really want to see on Xbox?
Like I said, I just want consistency of releases on it. So I want to see their Final Fantasy, I don't know, 18, 19, 20, 21, 30, you know? Like, I want to see all of those on Xbox day one, and I don't want to wait for it 4 years ago, for 4 years. Like, I just don't, and most Xbox players don't, and that's why they don't buy it on Xbox, guys. Like, that's like, surprise, Square Enix, we don't buy your games on Xbox because you're not consistent with it, right? You don't have your player base there. They're all on PlayStation, and that's.
I've got to say, I don't really like the culture of third party money hatting, and obviously we've seen PlayStation do quite a lot of that and get pulled up in court for it by Xbox when the ABK deal was all sort of being contemplated, etc. But yeah, I'm with you on that, Gamzly. Even
Yeah.
like again, not a Final Fantasy fan, wasn't really bothered by Final Fantasy on the PS1 back when that was out. And a lot of my friends loved it, but it just didn't really do much for me. But I want to see Final Fantasy VII remake and rebirth come to Xbox for Xbox players. I think that's important. Like,
Well,
there will be
even
Xbox players who don't own a PlayStation anymore, but did play Final Fantasy VII back in the day, and they want to play it now. It sucks that that's just sort of held back from them. And again, like, I have
yeah,
no investment in that because I don't care about the IP, but
yeah.
it sucks.
And it's funny because we people out there in their little bubbles, thinking we're crying about it. No, we're not. I buy all those games on PlayStation. You know, that's what I do. It's not that
Mm.
I don't play them or whatever, or I'm jealous of PlayStation. No, there's none of that exists here. If Square Enix, because I like Square Enix, if Square Enix wants to grow on other platforms, they got to be consistent on those platforms. They can't
Yes,
just
I.
they can't just like, whoops, we're gonna just put this here sometimes and then that. But
Let's
yeah,
cover that onto the other bit though. So
yeah.
they have to be consistent with Xbox for Xbox fans to be willing to buy their games. Is the same
Correct.
true of Microsoft's titles
For
that they're pushing to
PlayStation.
other platforms? Are people gonna
Yeah.
be willing to buy them without knowing if Sea of Thieves 2 is going to land on that platform, without knowing what kind of offering they're going to get? Do people actually care who the publisher of a game is when they think about their buying decisions?
It's a good
It's a very good
question.
question.
See, I think that if in another universe Xbox was Xbox was their games were that relevant to a certain amount of, like, to a certain fan base, yes. But right now, like, if we strip ABK out of it, right, and we strip Bethesda out of it, which we're not going to do for much longer, um they had Halo and Gears were oversaturated. And quite frankly, that was when they were at their peak. That was when the console was at its peak. If they had those games and they put it every single like if they put Halo Master Chief Collection on PlayStation, I would think that PlayStation fans would buy it. Yeah, I do. Do I think that's smart for Xbox as a platform holder? No. Like, it's very different companies. Like Square Enix and and like Microsoft, they're very different. If you have a platform, right? You have a store, you don't want to put and say, yeah, we're full third party. Oh my god, this is going to go into a third party conversation. But you wouldn't want to do that if you're a platform holder, if you have a store in front of you that people do buy things from and associate things with you, like relevant IP, like Bethesda games. For the longest time, a lot of people resonated with Xbox for Bethesda games. Am I wrong? Right? It's PC and Xbox usually. Like, you'd go see Oblivion, you'd buy it on your Xbox if you had an Xbox. In the 360 era, it was much closer than it is now, and most people went Oblivion on Xbox, and it ran better on Xbox, and it was associated
Red
with
Ring of
Xbox,
Death, yes.
right? And the Red Ring of Death. So it's a tough question. I think if Sea of Thieves lands there, that's a live service game. I think any live service game would kind of thrive, even if they don't expect, even if the PlayStation faithful don't really expect a sequel from it. As for like Pentiment, I think Pentiment's a one-off anyway. I don't think they need to associate with anything. When it comes to yeah, these are not like huge like IP names like Final Fantasy. If you want to grow, if Square wants to grow their prominent like freaking franchises as big as they can, and they have the option as a an entity that isn't a platform with a store that they want to grow, they should take those big IPs that have big names and put them everywhere, because that's how you get bigger. Like if Halo, if you strip Microsoft out of Xbox and you say Xbox is third party, and you yes, you want to put Halo fucking everywhere because that's how you grow Halo and Xbox. Yeah. if that helps with the question. I didn't know how to answer that, but yeah, you want your big franchises everywhere.
Fair enough. Deadly Headley, the 4 that are going to PlayStation, two to Switch and 4 to PlayStation. Do you see them finding new audiences? Are they smart plays, good decisions in terms of the specific games, not the overall strategy?
I hope so. I hope so. I think it would be it. So what have we got? We've got Sea of Thieves and Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush are going to PlayStation.
All 4 of them are going to PlayStation.
All 4 of them are going to PlayStation,
yeah.
and then 2 of them are going to Nintendo.
Pentiment and Grounded are going to Nintendo.
Yeah. I think Grounded, especially, I think is a fantastic move. For both Switch and PlayStation. I think with it being quite I know they said it's a community-focused game, but I as far as I'm aware, it's a 4-player game. Is that right? It's not.
Have community
it's not
elements.
Really.
You could build.
Okay.
You could build
fine.
like certain things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that obviously you sort of then also delve into the realms of user-generated content to a certain degree as well. So I think yes, it's a really positive thing that those IPs can find a new audience. You're right to ask whether or not it will sort of draw more people into the platform. I think from like I guess from the perspective of whether or not there will be a sequel for Sea of Thieves or a sequel for Grounded. If those only launch on Xbox, what happens with those user bases? Is it going to be potent enough to make them put down or reconsider the platform that they're currently on, or consider investing into a new platform if they're that invested in the IP? And I know that's something that I could see happening with Hi-Fi Rush if that ends up with some timed exclusivity. And again, Game Pass as a proposition is we're in quite an interesting space with when we talk about third party, because the thing that I keep on drawing attention to is the fact that you don't need an Xbox console to play Xbox games, and that's the thing that sets it apart from Nintendo and from PlayStation. Again, like I said last week, I think the onboarding for that needs to be a lot better, because yes, you can play on your phone, you could play on a browser, but ideally, I think a dedicated sort of streaming device or controller or Stadia-like setup would be a much easier sell to the average user and the casual who doesn't necessarily know a lot about the Xbox ecosystem. But when you go, here is, okay, hypothetically, let's say this kit costs, I was going to say 60 quid, but in this economy, that's unrealistic, isn't it? It's going to be more like 90 to 100, 110. Maybe that's an easy sell. Maybe it isn't. There's probably a different discussion. Good for Pentiment as well. I think that's good, because it didn't. I don't think it did particularly well on Xbox. I know it reviewed fairly well, but it didn't have a huge amount of reviews. It wasn't one of those games that really had a huge amount of fanfare. Whereas, to be fair to Hi-Fi Rush, that had a lot of fanfare, that had a lot of hype and a lot of discussion. So, it's nice that gets a second lease of life. It almost sort of, I think we've basically had soft confirmation that Hi-Fi Rush will probably end up making its way to the new Switch console, however that manifests itself as, because we've seen data mines sort of hinting that Hi-Fi Rush t-shirts are like a Nintendo themed t-shirt or something, alluding to the Nintendo platform. But we obviously haven't seen Hi-Fi Rush come to the current Switch console, which sort of kind of by process of elimination makes you go, okay, maybe it's not coming to this version of the Switch, but the next iteration of the Switch will be there. And I am glad that that's going to be the case, or should be the case, because I think it will do really well. I'm also really glad for the fact that it's not coming to the current Switch, because I think that would be a little bit of a slap in the face for Xbox gamers, because you can't play it on Xbox One. You can only play it via cloud. Or on the Xbox Series consoles, or obviously PC, or now PS5. So for it to come to an archaic piece of hardware and not the previous iteration of Microsoft's flagship console, I think that at least sort of tempers the expectations of some of the more rabid Xbox fan base, to
Hi-Fi
put it as
Hi-Fi
diplomatically as I
Rush.
can.
Sorry to cut you. Hi-Fi
No,
Rush.
no, you're good, mate. You're good.
It's Hi-Fi Rush is not coming to the current Switch.
No,
Okay,
no.
you see, it's little decisions like that that I'm quite confused about, because the way I look at it is getting like consistency of Xbox games. Like I said to Asa, you
Mhm.
have to have a consistency. So if you consistently feed other platforms these smaller like titles and live server titles that are really solid and people love and have huge fanfare for,
Mm.
um, the larger your visibility is going to be. But Hi-Fi Rush, I would have thought was a shoe-in for the current Switch, because the
I
point
agree
is,
with you.
I
It's
think you want to put that on
yeah.
134 million eyes, and especially like 20 million in Japan, specifically
I did
Japan,
want to see it on the
right?
current Switch because I
And
think it would do really, really well. Like as an IP, as a title, as a style of game, I
mhm,
think it would do massive numbers on the
I
Switch.
know, and
I
that's what I'm
think
saying. It's
power
like,
is probably the main issue because it's also not coming to
mm,
PS4. It's only coming to PS5. And again,
interesting.
there isn't an Xbox One version of that. So I think it is one of those things where it's like we're not gonna start cross-genning the build for Hi-Fi Rush because it's just gonna get quite messy.
Oh, it's so sad. Then again, I
It is
guess
sad.
I'm a little bit. It's gonna blow up. Like Switch 2 is probably instantly gonna be a hit, and maybe they launch with it, right?
I was going to say it could be a launch title. That
That
would
would
be
be
great.
big. Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
kind of fun to have, because
yeah,
people, it's gonna lack some games, and Hi-Fi being on the top of the store list might really prompt a big boom of
hmm
visibility.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay,
Illegal Dad
maybe it
in the
makes a
chat has
little bit
also,
of sense. Yeah.
yeah, Illegal Dad has also rightly pointed out in the chat that Sea of Thieves isn't coming to Switch as well, which again
Mm.
I would say probably a generational move, and again could well be something that we see land on the Switch too.
Fun times.
Um, yeah, yeah, I think
Mm.
it's good. I honestly good for those IPs. I'm personally very very comfortable with those IPs going multi-platform. I don't think that they are necessarily like core pillars of the Xbox brand. Whereas if you started seeing, and again, like I still have mixed feelings on this. Like if you put MCC on, if you put Halo: The Master Chief Collection on PS4 and PS5 or just PS5, you do end up introducing that to an audience who has never played a Halo game. But simultaneously, you also take your biggest flagship IP under the Xbox banner and put it somewhere where it hasn't been before. And I think that can get
Well,
quite sort of
I'll
confusing and messy for users.
before we put this to bed, like I'll put this on my sleeve. I think Microsoft is going, like I said on my post, and we could put this to sleep after this. I don't think we need to talk about more of it, but I'm gonna wear that they give two Call of Duties, and I said this in tweets, two Call of Duties a chance to thrive on Game Pass, see if it moves the needle, right? They do these smaller titles, they trickle them out to other consoles, blah, blah, blah. If they have to and they see a slow adoption, let's say they target 60 million Game Pass subs that they want, or maybe 30 million consoles at the same time that they want to have in the wild. If they hit those projections, with the current strategy of, let's say, Call of Duties and Call of Duty marketing and Call of Duty and Game Pass, because we've never had something so big on Game Pass. Never, ever, ever, right?
Hmm.
Um, if that doesn't move the needle, then I think they do look at those core IPs. But I think they're gonna keep it close to the chest forever. Like if it does push the needle, that's gonna be like opening the floodgates. That means
Mm.
if the needle is being pushed, there's a lot of visibility out there. There's 60 million subs. It's growing. It's growing. Call of Duty is associated with you. Skyrim is. All these Bethesda games are. I don't think they look past the. I don't think they look at the core IPs at that point. I think they look at it
Mm.
and be like, I mean, this is working and people are buying and people are subbing and people are engaging with our core IPs. And this is, let's keep it. And they never look at it again. But if they do have slow adoption and things get a little crazy and Call of Duty does nothing, like it does nothing, that's the only time I think they actually consider moving a flagship over there. That means Indiana Jones, Bethesda games, all that stuff. Bethesda games go first because that's associated with third party long ago. So I think Bethesda goes first, and they just case to case basis on it and be like, well, I think we
And
have to put, let's say, a 80-year-old, I don't know, Halo game in there,
to
and that's it.
at my own risk, sort of bringing back some of the conversation that we had last week, it is worth bearing in mind that Microsoft still haven't gone definitive on whether or not Indiana Jones and Starfield are coming. They were very careful to ask and answer the question: is
sure?
Starfield or Indiana Jones one of those 4 games? Yeah. The other thing that we've seen, they didn't definitively say we won't bring
they definitively
Indiana
said
Jones
that it's not on the agenda at the moment, but when they were asked afterwards if that's going to be the case forever, they wouldn't commit it forever, which I think is fair enough, because you'd have to be stupid to make a forever commitment.
It's really difficult to do that. And the other thing that Phil Spencer has said this week, or something that I've seen sort of circulate Twitter a little bit, is so Microsoft haven't officially said whether or not Call of Duty will be added to Game Pass. The only real word that we've had from Phil Spencer is our intent is the full portfolio of games from ZeniMax,
That's
Activision,
FTC. That's
Pass.
directly FTC language, because in the FTC case, didn't Sony kind of bar them from putting a Call of Duty in Game Pass?
I can't
wasn't
remember.
one of the contracts
the
that
current,
they did not.
Yeah, so long as the Sony marketing contract is in place, they can't do it. But that's
so maybe
that's gone. I want to just get the super chat. Cleo, thank you so much for the super chat. The hearts didn't come through on the image, but much appreciated anyway. And Pete, thank you for gifting that membership as well. On Hi-Fi Rush. Oh, the memberships, by the way, if you do get a membership, the Discord is really freaking cool, and you should make sure you join it. Good things are going on there all the time.
Shout out to my girlfriend as well, because that was Cleo. So shout out to Cleo.
Nice to meet you, Cleo.
It's too bad
I'm sorry
message
that Gamzly has been misbehaving. Tell him he did well afterwards, despite it not being true, and Potato sucks. So
he's definitely right about Potato. Completely ignores it.
Thank you.
I'm sure she can form her own opinions on bad games. Right. Hi-Fi Rush. One of the things that they've announced recently is they're outsourcing the physical edition of the game to limited run games, and that ties into some stuff that Phil Spencer said in his interview. I can't remember who he did this interview with, actually, which is very unprofessional of me, but hey, I'm not a professional, so it's fine. Physical games, it's not Microsoft's intention specifically or part of their strategy to move Xbox away from it. They're just going to follow what people do. It's not particularly part of their strategy to retain physical games or to move away from them, but they're just going to follow where the crowd goes, which is interesting because it was a mere 2 weeks ago that a lot of the Xbox fan base was shitting themselves because they thought their whole digital library was going to disappear. What do you make of this? What's Xbox's stance on physical media? Should they be committing harder? Are you relaxed about it? Do you embrace an all-digital future? Gamzly?
As I'm getting older, it's a weird thing. As I'm getting older, I'm kind of going backwards. 3 years ago, if you asked me the same question, I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a crap about this. Digital is fine. I'm already digital. PC gamers are digital forever now and all that good stuff. I wouldn't care. But I've been diving back into physical games, retro games and stuff like that. And I can't help but feel a nostalgia and kind of a feeling oh damn, I'm holding in my hand something that will kind of never perish as long as there's batteries in it. That shout out to the Nintendo the cartridges that have batteries for your saves and stuff. So I have this thing that I could always pass down, and it's mine, and I could really, I could use it whenever I want as long as I have the system as well. There's something about having that thing in my face and it's real, and I'm starting to appreciate it way more. I will embrace the digital future. I already have, but I'm still daily skeptic. I'm a skeptic now. I'm as I'm getting older, I'm getting more skeptical because I'm seeing so much disappear from these digital libraries, and I'm seeing so many licenses disappear and then vanish in thin air, and I'm getting kind of scared about it. The most recent thing was, oh my god, No, I'm not even gonna try to recall. There was a niche game that I really enjoyed, and it just left Steam, and I can't find it anymore. And I was like, oh well, you know, that's a shame, and it's just gone forever. And that stuff gives me hesitation on it. So Xbox, if you ever listen to this, which you probably won't, but please, please, try to preserve. I know you say you care about preservation and you're doing this backwards compatibility and Windows is the most backward compatible thing ever and all that stuff. I know you say that, but do more and try to keep physical alive as much as possible. That's what I gotta say.
What I've done here is I've skillfully brought this back to our central topic for the show, in that the last physical game that I bought was Rise, Son of Rome.
Smooth. Well done.
Smooth.
Says he's not a professional, but that segue says very different.
But I'm not segueing anywhere. I'm just carrying it on. Rise, Son of Rome was the last physical game that I bought because I had a terrible internet connection. So when I bought the Xbox One, like Rise had already reviewed, I knew that it wasn't a game I was going to go back to many times, but I wanted something to play when I got that thing home rather than a 2-day download. So that's the last physical game that I bought. But I'm like you, Gamzly, I can see right now like a PlayStation 1 and a Sega Saturn and the physical games that came with them.
Nice.
I don't think we can ever get back to that time because it's just not the way that games are delivered anymore in general. But my thing with Microsoft and with digital games and taking away drives and all the rest of it, I don't ever like to see them take things away that we currently have if they're not giving us something worthwhile in return. So if you give me, like, it's tied into the always online conversation. If you want to require me to have a digital version, if you want to require me to be connected to your servers, they need to be doing something for me to make that worthwhile. Otherwise, I'm going to be in a strop about my discs, even though I have no intention of buying them. Just don't take away my options for no reason. But there are good reasons, because disk drives are getting more expensive now that consoles are pretty much the only thing still using them. So the idea that the components to make these things work are dirt cheap like they used to be, they're not really anymore. They're actually pretty niche now, so they're getting more expensive rather than less. And obviously, it's like, as far as Microsoft and any other publisher are concerned, when someone buys something digitally, they get more of the money than if they go through retail. So the reasons to get rid of a drive are fairly clear and present, but I'd still rather see physical. Deadly Headley, when was the last time you touched a disc?
That could have gone very, very wrong. So the last time I bought a physical game was Dying Light 2. And I remember the reason why I did that was because I had seen quite a lot of quite a lot of performance issues with it, and I just thought I quite liked Dying Light 1. I'm gonna pick up Dying Light 2, and if it really is that bad, I can trade it in or I can sell it. But broadly, I'm very, very okay with having a digital library. I really like having the amount of content that we do in this day and age on demand at our fingertips whenever we want it. And I think having a digital library generally is quite a good experience in 2024. But I completely understand and respect the attachment and need for physical preservation, because I do think that game preservation is important. It's just sort of not really important enough for me to worry about it with the current game library that I have, because I know that my game library exists in an ecosystem that I like being in. And I think as long as I will continue to enjoy video games, I don't plan on leaving those ecosystems, because they move up with me. So as things develop and get more kind of lenient on, let's say, cloud technology, for example, in the future, I don't know. I kind of just, I'm okay with my library being with me wherever I am, and that's the nature of having a digital library. I'm also not a huge fan of clutter, and I'm really bad with managing clutter. Like, I think a physical library would kind of stress me out here, because I've got to find somewhere to put it all. But yeah, you're right. You know, when we talk about old games and old hardware and things like that, obviously it's good that we still have those experiences, and they're not going away. And I think I've parted ways with some of my collection that I think, you know, looking back, sort of wish that I didn't. But it is what it is, and I'm not really losing a lot of sleep over it, so it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing to consider is the convenience of, like I said, like I was trying to say, being able to access your library quite conveniently. So, prime example, yesterday I was out and I had a little bit of time to kill, so I thought I would try remote playing on my Xbox with touch controls, which is now something that you can do. And I jumped in and played Baldur's Gate. If, let's say, the Baldur's Gate disc wasn't in my Xbox, I would have to ask somebody to put that into my console to be able to access that content. In 2024, that's bullshit. Like, I'm not about that. That just seems like a bit of a hassle for me. I want to be able to just access my content when I want to access it because I'm impatient. And I know this was a real hot button topic, and a lot of people sort of didn't like that this was the kind of vision that Xbox had initially proposed back in the Xbox One generation when that was first launched, and there were conversations about DRM and game ownership and not being able to sell games and stuff. And obviously we saw some of the like the now infamous sort of marketing sting that PlayStation did with this is how you share games on PlayStation, etc. I think clearly did some brands damage to Xbox at the time. I was always on board with that vision because I liked having a digital library and ecosystem back then. I was fine with it, but I completely respect and still respect those who aren't okay with it. The only other thing that I would say is I personally don't ever want to see a disk drive leave a console, because the one piece of physical media that I do really like is 4K Blu-ray. And I want to be able to continue accessing that regardless of what piece of hardware I've got. So I do hope that we actually get another generation of consoles with disk drives, because that actually does matter to me as a consumer of high quality media versus a much lower bit rate on something like Netflix or Amazon or whatever. That's the thing that matters to me more so than game preservation, to be honest.
Fair enough. I'm the same with like the original Xbox One vision that was maligned and hated. I sit here and I argue in favor of physical as a need, as an option, but I fully embraced digital a long time ago. I find playing digitally, even without your scenario where you're away from the console playing remotely, even with the console being like a meter away, if it requires changing discs, I'm far less likely to play a different game. And I'm not as horrendously lazy as that makes me sound. I'm generally fairly active, but when a game is accessible at the touch of a button, I'm just more likely to switch over to it, which is why Quick Resume is so effective on the Series X. Like, I've got all of these things that are just there ready to go, bang, 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 and I just play them in that scenario. If I had to swap...
Yeah, and you effectively never finish anything.
Well, it has its downsides, but I chose not to finish Potato because it sucks. I finished some things, shut up. Anyway,
I think the one thing that I really would like to see change in the industry is the disparity in pricing between physical and digital. And again, illegal.
That will change though, but it will be physical will go up. It won't change in our favour. Just be aware of that when you ask for it, because I still agree, despite that being the case, prices need to be decoupled. Our digital games, and this is like the impact of decoupling them would be huge, because digital games at the moment are almost held hostage by a price point. Because it's set very, very early in development. We have to distribute this physically. Therefore, we've got a certain amount of cost associated with each copy. This needs to be a game that's worth $70, and they build up to it rather than scoping out a game they want to make, making it as good as they can, and kind of pricing it according to what it is. So the decoupling of prices from physical is really, really important. At the same time, I fully expect that will be like, we won't get better prices as a result of it. Physical games will get more expensive, more so than us suddenly realizing the benefits of the discount, because that's just the way that it goes. Speaking of, though, we had a little conversation about multi-platform games and Xbox's games on other platforms. They have obviously acquired a bunch of games that are already on other platforms, one of those being Diablo 4. There's a couple of things going on with Diablo 4 this week. One of them is obviously the announcement that it's coming to Game Pass, and the other one is general user sentiment on it, where it got a fairly positive reception when it launched. Not from me, but from a lot of people. Sentiment seems to have largely dropped off, but there's been a lot of complaints and outcry about some of its microtransactions. You can spend $65, which is it's enough to buy most games more or less if you shop around, or you can buy a bit of fancy armor for one of your Diablo horses. So people are quite reasonably perturbed by that and seeing that and thinking, wow, this company's not treating us with much respect. Diablo 4 though, because I like talking about games more than I like talking about prices. What do you think of it, Gamzly?
Is the $65 for the horse, or like
You get a bunch of
the armor, or
premium
you get
currency
gold?
with it. Yeah, you get the
Okay.
gold.
Okay, so it's a bundle. A lot of games do that. The horse armor is probably worth 20 of that. Even that's egregious. It's all egregious. I don't like it. Okay. I will buy it. Next.
The
Diablo
horse
4.
armor.
Is it a good game? I'm gonna buy all of it, baby. I'm the problem. So yeah.
Actually, the horse armor. Like Gaz has always been notoriously a problem with microtransactions, but a horse armor.
Oh man, I've already spent a lot on that game. Let's not bring that up.
Have you already
Asa,
got a
you
horse
lost.
armor? Are you
Potato's
going to get
amazing.
no?
Stop
No.
it.
Like Asa
Gamzly,
said at the
have
start of the show, he is looking for new co-hosts, and
have you already got a horse armor? Did you get one of the previous $65 horse armors? Are you going to get another horse armor, knowing full well that you can't have two horses at once? Oh, Gamzly. I'm sorry, everybody.
I'm not gonna answer any of that.
This is almost as bad as the as week 1 and 2's Game Pass recommendations. I apologize for this guy.
I did not. I actually that was a bit. I didn't actually buy the $65 one. I bought horse armors, just not the $65 bundle. I didn't buy a $65 bundle. I think I bought one of the earlier horse armors that was very I think like a quarter of the price. So it's still bad, but yeah, I haven't bought more horse armor after that. Diablo 4, I really did see. That's the struggle with every Diablo since 2, is that we always like this. The fans get this FOMO and get this hype, right? They're like, oh my god, kind of like Helldivers 2 right now. They're like, oh my god, this is like the best thing ever because I haven't played one in like 900 years, and they expect for it to be better than, you know, the last generation or the second game title, and they think they're gonna steer the ship right this time, and all of those sentiments um really do help with the launch of the game in the early times. Like when that game dropped, I was all for it. Like I was with my brother, I was with my cousin. We have nostalgia for this game. We were heavy Diablo lovers, and we love the story. We love grinding. Um, I too thought it was one of the best things ever. And then when I beat the story and it came down to the meat itself, so when it came down to the purpose and the reason of grinding armor and the purpose of getting like stat crunching and all that stuff, it just fell flat. It's just not as deep as it used to be, so it's never gonna be as good. It's just not as deep. It, there's no real good reason to do any of it. The grind's boring. It's just you can't even, guys, you can't even trade effectively. You know what I mean? Even their community, like how you trade these items and how the drop rates and specific character drops and all that stuff, like it's not the same anymore. It's like why for instance, the economy in Diablo 2, you know, the hook was like when demons died and you're trying to look for a specific thing, everybody had access to the same drop. So people were fighting over drops, right? If you're lucky enough, you get the thing you want, but then like you trade it. And it made trading so effective and fun, even though frustrating at times. But it's effective because you want the thing that guy just got, and you'll do anything to go get it. And it gave purpose, right? And the thing that you're trying to get gave your character a lot of purpose and a significant bump to your stat. Yeah, there was just so much more reasons to play the other games, and right now they haven't nailed it. Like they nailed the story, they nailed the feel, they nailed mostly everything about that game, but the fucking it just at the end of the day, it's just not what it used to be. And yeah, Endgame. If I had to rate it, Endgame is like a freaking 6.5 to 7.5, and the story is still up there for me. But yeah, it's a passable game, and I don't like saying that about Diablo since we only get to play it one time out of 10 years.
The first trailer that I played then was specifically for the battle pass and cosmetics that are coming in the season that's coming up, which is gross. Nonetheless, it kind of will feel like a free-to-play game when it lands on Game Pass. Does that mitigate the microtransactions at all? I hope not, because I don't want it to excuse them going forwards. But Deadly Headley, Diablo 4 is a game. Played it, enjoy it, missed the rolling from Diablo 3.
So I think I said last week I only played Diablo 3 the once on sort of couch co-op with a mate, but I remember really liking it. So I can't say that I had necessarily formed like a huge attachment to the rolling mechanic. However, not having a rolling mechanic in Diablo 4 does really annoy me. So yeah, it sort of kind of threw the looking glass on that one. I did like Diablo 4 a lot. I would agree with Gamzly in that the end game sort of kind of just leaves it all a bit wanting. I am excited about it getting hopefully a second lease of life, which feels a bit harsh, doesn't it? Because it didn't come out that long ago, and we're already talking about it having a second lease of life. But it's more Diablo
Man,
4's
it
problem.
needs it. It needs it, right?
It does need it. I think it will be positive as like being able to get a larger community on there, certainly encouraging more players to get in without the obviously the entry the barrier for entry in terms of the upfront cost. I actually ended up getting the ultimate edition and playing a few days earlier. I was really excited for it, and I did really enjoy it. I liked Diablo 4 a lot. I don't like the monetization that we see in it, and don't have any intention on spending money in it. And I think that when prices are that high and the game currently doesn't have any sort of low barrier of entry or free to play option, or it's not in Game Pass yet, so we can't use that as a reason to make it cheaper to get someone in. Every user on that game has paid actual money for it, and yet the store prices are that high. I think that's a bit gross. I'm not keen on that. I don't like it. It's their prerogative. They can do what the fuck they want, but I'm not going to support it.
Do you think, generally though, with that in mind, do you think Game Pass does justify these kind of gross costs and things, Diablo aside?
No, I don't think it does.
I hope that it doesn't. I don't want that to be like intrinsic to a Microsoft game, is that it's on Game Pass, therefore we can charge you $65 for Horse Armor, which isn't the case here. This is definitely an Activision Blizzard King decision from before.
I was going to say,
Microsoft
I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Like how much earnest do we put on Microsoft for that pricing when really they've not really had anything to do with Diablo until on paper
nice
it's theirs
if the moment it went through they stepped in and fixed some of the more egregious stuff around monetization. It's not a realistic expectation for anything to change that quickly, but it's like one of the best like positive outcomes from the acquisition is that they could improve that stuff. So you'd hope, but time will tell. I had something and it's just evacuated my brain. So we're going to move on
the Diablo. Cool. Well, yeah, last thing on Diablo. It's I think that Activision Blizzard has been moving towards more user-friendly kind of feelings, right? They want to be inviting with their games. They want to make it easier, less appeased to the hardcore fan base, right? And I think that will work in Diablo's favor. So people that don't know what a Diablo 2 is or 3 or whatever, they won't have the same complaints as us, right? We're like the hardcore Diablo fans that, jumped from 3 and got 4 and FOMO hit. We probably knew, actually I knew that it was going to hit Game Pass eventually because they got bought. And I believed their promise. Even with that, FOMO got me. I needed to play this game because it is so relevant to me and a lot of players out there, and Activision fans out there, but like the average consumer, those people that don't play Diablo and haven't gone into it but always hear about it and blah blah blah, they see that in Game Pass and they pick it up. I think, that will, like, it will have a nice big boom for those people. Like, I think having Diablo in Game Pass for PC and Xbox, whatever, will entice those people that's always seen it, never understood it, and that's where the mission of Activision Blizzard's gonna hit right, is that it'll probably hook these people. Like, they'll get in and be like, yo, this is addicting, the story's really enthralling, it's really fun, it's engaging. They won't know what the past was. So, in that sense, I think Diablo, if one game could really explode overnight in Game Pass, this is one of those IP that I think will be successful.
Definitely could be. It's also,
I actually miss it. I would like to pick it up again.
I intend to. It's also coinciding with Season 3 and all of its like PC ray tracing update and all that kind of stuff. So there's good reason to dive back in when it does come. But it's also the first of the ABK games to drop into Game Pass, which is significant because obviously there's the strategic thinking that goes into it, where they want to time their releases and all the rest of it. But there are also like technical challenges around it, particularly on the PC side of things, where this game that has previously thrived and existed on the Battle.net launcher on Blizzard's own store is now available to license up and make available through Game Pass. So once this first game is out and launched and smooth, there is no real restriction stopping them from bringing other games into the service. So hopefully it will mark the start of a nice cadence of like, here's your previous Call of Duties and things like that can actually start landing on console and PC. Is a plus side of it. Let's talk about Resident Evil 2. I'm doing this because what we're doing is we're going to head towards the end of the show and our outros and community questions and all of the things that we've got. But each week, Gamzly recommends some terrible, 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 terrible games. But last week he slipped up. He slipped up and accidentally picked a good one. Resident Evil 2 Remake. Gamzly, I don't want to talk about Resident Evil 2 Remake. I've said enough there. It's a really good game. If anyone hasn't picked that up on Game Pass and burst through it, you should do. It is very, very good. What is this week's Game Pass recommendation?
Well, I was going to say Tales of Arise, because it's probably one. It's a very prominent series. It's a very big series for the rest of the world. So I was gonna recommend this, but I hit a little speed bump in it where I'm not really enjoying it. I'm third boss in, but it's getting way too much for me, and I can't really put my finger on it, so I'm not quite gonna recommend it. Instead, what I will recommend is Bluey. You know Bluey? No, not.
Nice. I didn't see that coming.
That was a joke. My recommendation is Tales of Arise. Go play Tales of Arise. We need Tales to be a little bigger in the West. I think Tales is a really good series. It's really fun. The art in that game is freaking awesome. Have you played this game, Asa? And Deadly?
I mean, I paid money for it. I've had it installed on my Series X since it came out, and I haven't started it yet.
You should. They do talk. JRPGs will do what JRPGs do. It's a lot of talk.
I love JRPGs.
In the beginning, it's a lot of talk in the beginning. The map is a little strange to navigate, but when you get the hang of it, it's one of the best maps that I enjoy in these games, which is very weird because it is a weird map system. The grind is really fun. The combat is a great blend. It's very Final Fantasy VII Remake-ish, with traditional combat mixed in there. And it's just great. The art style's great. They have a lot of characters. It's very adult with its themes. Go check it out. It's very likable. And if you don't like that, go fuck yourself. And you're wrong.
I mean, you've already described
right,
more things happening than in the entirety of Potato by a long shot, and you're only on the third boss. So I'm going to take your recommendation. I'm going to try and play that. It is obviously not a short game, so I don't know how much feedback I'll be able to give you on that next week, being a full-on
take
RPG, but
it sticks. It's really long in the tooth, but stick with it. And when you get your full party your full party, it's crazy. It really is fun, crazy fun.
been a pretty strong month for Game Pass. You've got Warhammer Bolt Gun and Dead Island 2 dropped today as well. Deadly Headley, have you got any choices, any picks for the people this week?
Well, my first one shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody is Brotato, because I'm an advocate for that game now.
Right.
It's great.
See you next week, everyone.
Play Brotato.
We're done. No, we're not.
Everybody, good night.
Put it down.
If you haven't played Brotato, I would. I love that Gamzly. It's so funny. Audio listeners, definitely check out Gamzly's Potato. He's done a fantastic job there. There's really, really funny. I would recommend checking out Brotato if you liked Vampire Survivors. It's like a 500 meg download. Like, it's a really small packaged, easy to pick up, simple to play. Like, once you're actually in the main gameplay loop, you're only using the left analog stick. It's just, I don't know, it's just easy, mindless, pretty chill fun. So yeah, I would go and check that out.
You got JJ to download it right now, you bastards.
And I haven't played it yet, but this game has been on my wish list since it came out, and I was waiting for a decent sale. I'm very, very happy that Dead Island 2 made its way to Game Pass today. I'm really, really pleased about that, because it was a game that, again, I've been waiting for it to. I was waiting for it to hit like the 25 quid mark, because again, I have so many things on my backlog right now that I don't really need to buy any new games, because I still. I haven't played that this week, but like take Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, for example. I bought the expansion, started it, ended up all of it got railroaded by Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate has taken up most of my gaming time, and I'm not even sorry, because I fucking love that game so much. I'm obsessed with it. I really, really am. But yeah, I still need to get back to Phantom Liberty, and finish that expansion, because I really liked I really like Cyberpunk 2077. But yeah, I'm very, very excited about Dead Island 2. So I'm gonna cautiously recommend that for this week's Game Pass, but really that's probably more next week's recommendation, when I can actually get into it and talk about it. But yeah, I'm hyped. So go play that, and definitely play Brotato, because Gamzly is right and Asa is incorrect.
Stop rubbing it in. The whole industry is imploding around us because you're wasting your time on Brotato instead of buying the good games.
You don't even have to buy it.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some of these community questions. It will run quite well on the Series S because nothing happens. It's not too late. There is a Q&A box on YouTube. I don't know how many questions we've got in there. I can't promise we're going to get all of them, but we're going to have some highlights presented. We're going to grab the best of the questions and go through those now before we wrap up. The first question is from Alex S. Did you answer my question? I said we were going to do the freaking best ones. If that is one of them, I blame Brotato.
Hold on. Before you move on, I'm sorry, my friend. Before you move on to the next question, there's a good recommend. Alex, Banishers is amazing. Okay, Vampire sucks. Go play Banishers. That's another recommendation. Not on Game Pass, but very fun, very good. Anyway, next.
Good. I really want to play that as well, but I'm on Vampire at the moment, which I actually think is very good so far. So Abdul has asked, what games are you most excited for at Xbox E3 Showcase 2024? Yours are the Perfect Dark gameplay debut, Gears of War 1-3 remakes, and the Black Ops Gulf War Game Pass trailer. Ignoring the fact that E3 is obviously dead and gone, we know that Microsoft have a summer showcase in June. Anything in particular that you are hoping to see there, Deadly Headley?
Fable gameplay. Fable is my game from Xbox Studios to watch at the moment. I've got a lot of respect for Playground Games, and I'm really excited to see what they can do with Fable. So yeah, I'm really hoping that we get a proper like full-on sort of gameplay deep dive. I don't think we will. I think it might be a little bit further out than that, but I don't know. I honestly don't know, because we've not even had like a whisper of a date for Fable yet, have we? Did we get anything last year? I know we
No.
saw some good
No.
stuff, but it didn't have a year attached to it or anything like that. So
Mm-mm.
we still
I
don't know
think
where that's at. I hope that we see some Shattered Space DLC for
Mhm.
Starfield. That would be nice. And maybe an update on the mod situation for console and for Creation Club content for Starfield as well. That would be
Oh,
quite
yeah.
nice. And I think dropping information like that at like an E3 RIP, but E3 level event for the Xbox Summer Showcase, I think would be really positive for it. I'm with you, Abdel, on wanting to see some Perfect Dark. I don't think we'll see it this year. We probably won't see gameplay this year, but we might get like a first look similar to the kind of treatment that we got with Fable last year. But I'm not sure. They've gone very, very quiet, haven't they? But I'm definitely interested to see where it might go. Anything Halo related, I'm always going to get excited about, but again, not really holding out much hope for that. What about you, Gamzly? Where are you at?
Ooh, oh man. We're obviously going to see the next Call of Duty on that stage. That's for sure. That's like a shoe-in. I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna bungee jump for Gears of War remakes or remasters. I think that's like overdue. I think they could do that. They do have such good backwards compatibility that I still think it's kind of a little bit useless for like a remaster, but like a remake would be crazy cool for the first one. So yeah, that I don't think we see Perfect Dark at all. I think that's in a little bit more trouble than we think. Maybe we don't see that. Fable's got to be there with gameplay. I think we see Fable gameplay. That's also a thing that I think closes the show. Um, oh my god. They did say they had 10 games coming, eh? So, my goodness. What could those be? I'm gonna guess about 4 or 5 of them have to be new IP in some sense. Maybe we see the reboot of that what was it called?
Everwild, yes. Everwild was my
yeah.
pick
Yeah,
for
maybe.
it.
Yeah. Oh, that's too bad. Crazy.
Everwild, Gears 6, Clockwork Revolution, Fable.
Yeah.
That would be a good show for
South
me. And
of
obviously,
Midnight
Microsoft have
would
got
be
so
cool.
many.
Be nice to see something
Yeah.
like that.
They've got so many studios that they can't have a bad show in June, can they? It's going to be something to look forward to.
Gonna be awesome.
I do fully expect Gears 6 to knock our socks off, and I hope that Everwild is there to reveal what it actually is and kind of give that a little bit of gameplay diversity, something very different.
You think they're gonna do Gear 6?
They're absolutely going to do Gears 6.
Yeah. Okay.
We're due Gears content. We've been overdue Gears content for a little while. That's a good point, Illegal Dad. Contraband. I would very much like to see what's up with Contraband. That I think that could be there.
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty
that
good chance we'll see that.
Yeah, hopefully. All right.
Indeed. Let's have the next question, please. Elder Scrolls 6? No, not for a while.
Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah, not yet. I would
right.
be baffled if they did.
Episode
Imagine.
13 is asked on our Discord. Do Xbox stop at 4 games for the foreseeable future for a few years? Or perhaps do the floodgates open in the next year or in 2024? So, obviously they don't stop at 4. Numbers go up as soon as they release anything. So it's inevitable that the number is going to grow at some point. But what kind of pacing are we expecting? Are they going to have more games coming to other platforms this year?
I don't think it's going to be floodgates, as you put it, episode 13. I think we'll find ourselves somewhere in the middle. It very much feels like Xbox is testing the water at the moment, but I think they're expecting positive results. I am still in the camp of not willing to rule out Indiana Jones and Starfield going to other platforms at some point. I think, again, it's also worth noting that, like, at one point, PC was considered a different platform to Xbox, and now they are sort of much of a muchness in certain ways. I think that we will we will sort of acclimatize to some of the industry changes and attitudes that we're seeing from publishers on both sides of the fence, because again we've seen similar conversation from PlayStation this week, in that they've clocked how well Helldivers has done on PC, even with the server issues that it's having. Now people want to play it, people are excited about it, it's had some virality to it as well. Yeah, we're definitely going to see more of this. How long it takes for that to really start coming through, I think time will tell. But yeah, be prepared for it to keep happening. But I don't think it's going to be a big floodgate thing. And I do take Phil Spencer at his word when he said, fans on PlayStation, if you're expecting us to automatically just start putting all of our content there, it's not happening. It's going to be a case by case basis. It's got to be decision making done at Microsoft and Xbox's top level, and they will consider those titles carefully. But yeah, definitely expect more.
Yeah.
Anything else,
I'm
Gamzly?
also gonna. Yeah. I'm just floodgates are not gonna open for this year. And that's it. Solid. Four. That's it. And maybe in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we're early in the year, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's something else a bit towards the tail end of it, just for the sake of, keeping the money coming in. But no floodgates for me either. TJI has asked, xCloud accounts for 10% or more of Xbox's total playtime. Do you see them reinvesting more in the cloud, and do you see this number increasing significantly in the future?
That's a really good question, TJI.
That's cool. That's a cool question. I'm gonna go. I'm already going.
Yeah.
You can't stop me, baby.
I can.
Don't mute me now. Yeah. Cloud is gonna be stronger and stronger in a lot of places year over year. I mean, 5G's crazy. We got crazier internet speeds in the US, Canada, Japan, across multiple countries. As that stuff, it's playable right now. I mean, I give it 5 years, servers are going to be everywhere. In places that gaming is running well, and there are gamers. Yeah, within 5 years, I think cloud is going to explode heavily. I would probably guess 20% at some point, of Xbox players are going to be in the cloud, if I had to guess.
Deadly idea. Do you see
It's
cloud
the future, guys, at some point.
growing? And do you see it growing? Previously on the cloud thing, Microsoft said they had found that most of the people that were engaging with their cloud offering were actually just console gamers that were using it to try things, rather than the new audience that they were hoping to reach. Do you think that's going to change over time, or is it going to stay?
I hope that it does. I mean, Microsoft has clearly placed quite a lot of importance on it, and we saw again a lot of that with like the FTC trial, when pushing the Activision Blizzard King deal through. Cloud is clearly on Microsoft's radar and is important to them. They clearly put a lot of investment in that upfront, because a lot of the Xbox Series X hardware, shortly after the console launched, was being redirected to support xCloud offering, which in hindsight I don't think was a smart move, because you're just sort of depriving a potential user base of the hardware that they need to get into your ecosystem and start enjoying it and start playing it. So I don't think that was a smart move, but I don't know. I'm not a $1 trillion company, so what do I know? I definitely want to see that number increase, and I do think that cloud is a really important space to try and bring casuals into, because like I've said before, it's really difficult to get a casual who has already bought a PlayStation 5 to justify spending the same amount of money or even 2/3 of that if you look at the Xbox Series S, to play a bunch of Xbox games that they can't currently play on PlayStation. Again, hardcores, everybody in this chat, everybody listening to this after the fact, or at least most of you, and everybody here on this panel plays on multiple platforms because we just love video games. But I think cloud offering is really important to Microsoft, and I want to see them grow it. And I want to see them bring hardware into the home that makes that easier. I think I would be really interested to know how many people who have bought a new Samsung TV and aren't subscribed or weren't previously subscribed to either Xbox Game Pass or had any interest in Xbox. I'd love to know how much of a new audience they've managed to capture there, because I think it would give a really powerful insight into how they might bring new users into the ecosystem.
Yeah, adoption will be slow.
Yes, it will
But
be.
it's slow right now because, not enough people have, the effective circumstances.
It's a lack of awareness.
Yeah,
So shout
and
out to Xbox Era because they had a really interesting discussion about this. And again, my ears pricked up because I work in marketing, I work in branding, so I get really nerdy about this kind of shit. But they were talking about, or Special Nick was talking about how, like when someone is walking down a street and they see a Game Pass ad, they have 5 seconds at very, very most to absorb all of the information on that advert and to position. And again, this is coming from someone who works in branding and marketing, to position, here is what Xbox Game Pass is, and here is what Xbox Cloud services do, and here are the games that you can access. It's so difficult to distill that into a message that is really simple to understand when you have no contextual awareness of what Xbox as a platform is. And I think until they manage to square that circle, they're always going to struggle to grow their cloud offering.
It's also, I think, the content question as well. So most people that are interested in Halo and Gears of War and games like that probably have found a way to play them. I know that's not true of everybody, but I think if it's going to explode to a more significant number, they need like an Animal Crossing or a mobile game that sits on that service that gets people to fire up their TV and jump into it. The people that you can wave Halo in front of and say you can play this now for free, and they're going to go, whoa, buttons are complicated for me. I don't really want to have a controller with that many face buttons. It's big and scary. But there's a big audience for them waiting if they do diversify the content and find a way to show it to people. We'll see how long it takes, though. TJI, that's the question we just had. Let's have the next one, please. We'll do one more question, then we'll wrap it up. Pete has asked, if Microsoft become dominant with games, would they suddenly try to shaft us with prices, like the aborted gold price hike? Well, I mean, of course they will. Who's got a different take?
No, I'm there with you. I think corporation is going to cooperate on this one.
They'll always
There's only
try
so much that they can. This is like the biggest defense we have against it is they are still, no matter how dominant they get, even if it was only Microsoft, they're still beholden to supply and demand, and there is only so much that people will actually pay. So they will get to a point where I'm not saying this is going to happen because they have got competition and competition is not going anywhere, but any corporation in a big monopoly is going to squeeze as much money out of everybody as they can. You even had, there was some of the emails that slipped out. I can't remember, I don't think she's at Xbox anymore, which might be a good thing, but there was a conversation between Phil Spencer and it was Amy something from finance, and they were talking about whether they should go in cheap on something to do with Game Pass, and she specifically used the words, yeah, we should be on the side of the consumer at the moment because we're not out of the woods yet. And reading that was like, wow, massive alarm bells. Like, that's the thinking in the corporate world. Once they've got the consumer on side and they don't need to be nice to us, they're not going to be nice to us. So
yeah,
let's hope that competition
we need a little bit more on the
healthy,
hook before we start reeling in.
Yeah. Let's keep being fans and waving flags for them. Sounds good.
Just to sort of, and maybe it's hopium more than anything else, I'm not sure, but I think what I have seen from Microsoft is how it can react to a community who is willing to criticize it to the degree that it has criticized it before, because that gold, that Xbox Live Gold price hike, I can't remember what it was going to go up to, but it was ridiculous.
Doubling.
So it was going to double, and the outcry was so loud and so strong that they just went, all right, cool, fine, we'll try and figure out a different way to nickel and dime you, because you clearly don't like being nickel and dimed like that. And I can respect it to a degree, because at least they are willing to respond. Whereas some of the sort of more egregious kind of money grabbing practices that we've seen from other platform holders haven't necessarily been as sort of forgiving or as soft-handed. At least with Microsoft, when they do take with one hand, they typically give with the other by providing more and more content to Game Pass, because that's how they get you. I'd like to think that they might respond in a similar way. And again, we've seen them respond to community outcry in the last couple of weeks, but that was more because they got caught with their hands relatively red-handed, rather than the alternative, which would have been far more diplomatic and controlled and quiet.
Perfect. Gamzly, do you have anything to...
Yeah, no. Yeah, they're gonna gouge our eyes out as much as they can. That's all. Yeah, no, I got nothing else to say. Hopefully they don't.
Yeah. We like our Xbox, we like our games, but we are not here to cheerlead for Microsoft. They want everything they can from us, absolutely. Let's wrap it up there then. So thank you everybody that's come along for... Is this our third or is it our fourth?
I have one more thing. One more quick thing that I forgot to put in the show notes. Episode 4 of season 2 of Halo is absolutely incredible. I cannot recommend enough. Start this season. Watch a recap of season 1, because you don't have to. I would recommend watching it personally, but if you really, really don't want to, just try and find a recap and then jump in on season 2, because season 2 is fucking good. It is so good. And I'm really, really glad to see that it is getting the praise and fanfare that it deserves as well, because it is done really, really well. Yeah, go and check that out.
Oh,
might have to do that. Okay,
nice. I'll do that. Thank you, Headley.
Yeah.
Thanks, Asa.
Good influencing. We're both going to go and do it. This is episode 4, the Rise Son of Rome special edition, where we mentioned it a few times at least. That counts for something. Gamzly, tell everyone where they can find you, what you're going to be up to this week.
All right. So you can find me here every Thursday at 3 p.m., which is on...
Whoa, hang about.
Oh.
Maybe. You play your cards right. Announce potato. No, you can find Gamzly here every week on Thursday. Carry on, sir.
Yes. And also on Double Barrel Gaming, Monday, 12 p.m. for the Xbox lunch special with Boom. And at Gamzly TKD on X, where I just shit on Helldivers 2 every day, all day. Yeah. Don't buy that game. It sucks.
To be clear, I'm joking. I'm really, really pleased with my co-hosts. I'm very happy that they are here every Thursday, and I hope that they don't leave on account of me being a bit of a dick sometimes.
There's a lot of love behind closed doors. Seriously, there's a lot of love in this panel.
I wouldn't say a lot. Yeah. I wouldn't say a lot.
There's enough. There's enough for us to keep doing it.
Say it. Say sorry. Look into its eyes and say sorry.
Headley, what are you up to this week?
So, like Gamzly, you can also find me here every Thursday. I also you can find me on YouTube at Deadly Headley. I will work on new content at some point. I have like quite a lot of life stuff going on, so content for the moment has taken a little bit of a backseat, but not a long one. Just a temporary one. But I still have a lot of content on my channel that I'm really proud of, and I put quite a lot of focus on production quality there as well. So yeah, if you haven't checked out my content on YouTube, go and do that, because it's something that I'm really proud of. And again, I will work on more content soon, just sort of need to get my shit together. But yeah, happily here every Thursday on this amazing panel, and I'm really enjoying my time here. So again, thank you, Asa, for putting this together, because I really appreciate it. And I'm really proud of how well the show has been doing. Like, largely the reception has been really positive. We see a lot of people join us every week. We see a lot of people join us on demand as well, and it's really, really positive, the reception and love that we've had from the community. So yeah, just want to say thank you for that.
Seconded. Appreciate all of that. Yes, Gamzly.
Where was you didn't? Headley likes Brotato also. Where's the hate for Headley here? Where's the snarky comment, Asa? Huh?
I'm defeated, Gamzly. I'm defeated. Going back to Rise.
He did contemplate replacing me on Twitter earlier.
That is us done for today. Gaming Arcadia still has things going on. We've got the Arcadia Roundtable on the Tuesday with Chris Grinnell and the Darge Knight. Q&As are on a Wednesday. This every Thursday. Community games on a Sunday, and a bunch of streams and other things elsewhere. I really strongly recommend the Discord. So have a little look on that, because we're always talking, playing games, and they're all streaming to each other and having a good time in there. For now, though, thank you, everybody. Enjoy your gaming, and we'll catch you next week.